Welcome to the Rachele and Cassandra show. Before we begin, our disclaimer. Hey, don't forget, Rachele and Cassandra are not attorneys or financial advisors. Sometimes what they say may sound like legal or financial advice, but it's not.
Welcome to episode 82. I got to find the right camera. I am here today without Cassandra, which is always a little bit discombobulating, but I have a very close second in my friend Randy Surline with Allen Edwin Homes. Hi, Randy. Thank you for being here today.
Hi, Rachele. My pleasure to be here. This is fun.
I got to work on my introductions. Was there anything I was supposed, do you have any letters after your name that I should have said?
There's two Roman numerals, so I'm a second.
Oh.
So like you said, I'm a close second.
Second. Oh, got it.
Yeah, so
pun intended.
Oh, yeah.
So it's Randall Surline the second?
It is.
Okay, just to get it right. Esteemed Esquire, do we have to do any of that?
No Esquires. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, oh boy, I'm fumbling with this because I feel like, because we normally talk about real estate, maybe we should talk about Allen Edwin Homes and building a new house. But I kind of think that maybe we'll get to some of that, but that's not really what I care about.
I love that.
And before we went active in this conversation, we were having a couple of other conversations, one of which was revolving around something you said about 20 pages. Can we try and duplicate that offline conversation so we can have it online?
Yeah, for sure. So we were talking about the phrase of I never have enough time.
Yeah.
I would do X, but I don't have enough time.
Yeah.
So I recently had a birthday, and I thought, you know what, to heck with all that stuff. The time is now. And so I made a commitment that I was going to average, one of the things I was going to do is average 20 pages a day. I was going to average 20 pages. Now, what I mentioned to you is I'm way ahead of that.
Yes.
And then you talked about, well, that gives you kind of that ability to sandbag a little bit or space it out. But that was one of the things I made a commitment to.
So you committed to reading 20 pages of something a day.
Yep.
Why? Like, why was that a goal? Why didn't you could have been eat a cupcake every day? I don't know. Why'd you pick that?
Yeah, cupcakes. Because I did want some food for my brain.
Okay. Very well done.
So I used to.
Yeah.
There's that phrase.
Yes.
I used to read a lot and or read a fair amount, and I really enjoyed it. And it's like, well, I just don't have the time. So that whole phrase came into my life, and there's been so many life-changing events in the last year, really 2 years-ish, but year and a half, 2 year, life-changing events. So, we hear that phrase too, get back to the basics. And I know it sounds crazy to say, but I was like, who is Randy Surline II? Who am I? And I literally mean this. This happened to me. And I was like, I was a guy that used to like to read. And I think the only way we do it is we, carve out time every day or get that commitment of, hey, this is what I'm going to do because this is me. This is part of my fabric.
So did this just, there's so many places to go back to. Life-changing events. I want to unpack those. And I want to know, like, did you just wake up on your birthday and be like, is this midlife crisis kind of conversation? Or is it like you're doing some soul searching and trying to put yourself together in a new way? I don't know.
I think that's a good way to look at it. Deconstruct and reconstruct, and getting back to who I am. It's sounds crazy too. I used to exercise more so than right when I mentioned. Right when I came in, I mentioned, I decided to go running on a treadmill yesterday, and some of it was sprinting, and I'm like thinking in my head, what am I doing? I'm getting back to who I am. I used to run. There's one time I averaged right about 5:12 pace for 8 miles.
What is that? Is that good?
It's pretty good.
As a new to athletic lifestyle person, I don't know what that reference means. 5:12 pace.
5 minutes and 12 seconds per mile.
Oh, holy shit. That is good.
It was pretty good.
Yeah.
That was a number of years ago, and then I kept it up for a little bit. But it's those types of things of what's our why? Why are we here? What happened? Life-changing events. Goodness gracious.
What happened? What are the triggers for these thoughts, these conversations in your head?
All of it. All of the last couple of years, just learning more, learning. Again, I'm just going to state what it is.
Do please. And
time.
Okay.
Time. We know a lot of things in life. We don't know. It's making the most of the time, I guess, making the most of the time that we have of spending more time with friends, with family, with doing the things of the why we're here. Friends, family. My mother and sister, love them both dearly. They're getting a little bit older, and again, I notice it, and I notice things like, hey, maybe they, could have exercised a little bit more. In my head, again, everyone's got to be them, but again, it's just like, okay, well, are you doing what you're thinking?
Yeah.
And I wasn't. And so it's holding myself accountable to some of these things. So it was that and everyone's had some loss. I had some loss, a close, my godchild, my niece, passed away in the last couple of years. And then also in who's now my wife, her father passed away, and these are both very unexpected. And then then we got married, and we're expecting in May. So,
holy shit. Okay. So you're like facing mortality and you've got new life coming.
Yeah. So
and congratulations.
Thank you so
much. I had
much.
no idea. That's lovely.
We're amazingly excited, and it's just all these things. And, what's your why? Why are you, and it's people, it's things, it's, and a lot of times people talk about it, but it's the why. And you think about it, there's health, right? There's knowledge, there's, nutrition, there's all these pieces and parts. And when I just sat down and thought about it, all of that is there's making money, there's all these things, but none of it has any relevance without health. So, and that's a meditation, right? That's sleeping better. That's taking some time to exercise, and exercise is two-pronged. It's your brain. And was I reading? Was I, doing those things? It's I had to get my mindset back to who I was.
Dude, you are so speaking my language right now. It's freaking me out a little bit, because maybe this comes with being 47 years old or something.
High five on that.
All of what you're saying is going right into my brain and my psyche. And I'm like, yep, me too. Yep, me too. Yep, me too. So it sounds like a confluence of life circumstances kind of are knocking on your door or something. And you said something. What did you say? Are you doing the things?
Yeah.
Do you find, and I found this with myself, so I can't be the only one. If you think about doing something, you kind of trick yourself into thinking you did it.
Yeah.
Like if you've been athletic and suddenly you stop doing the athletic things, you still, I thought about going to the gym. It's like that text message that you read, thought you replied to, and forgot all about.
Totally forgot about it.
Same thing, right?
Yeah.
So good for you. You're picking up the thing. So what is do you have like a long game strategy?
So I've thought about, this popped in my head today, just about reading, right? So read different books, and I had a buddy of mine that was getting his MBA, and one day he said to me, he's like, "You're just brilliant. You're brilliant." The reality is, and I look back on the day, no, I just read a really good book that had a lot of great knowledge.
High five.
So, there was just, and he was you need to go get your MBA. And I was like, no, I'm good. I'm good. I'm just naturally brilliant. No, I just read a great book. So it's,
so you're not just reading a book. you're reading specific kinds of books. I just did 75 hard, and then I just finished phase 1. And I mention it at every opportunity, every single time I can. But
I do remember because
similar.
we went for a walk in a brutally cold day.
We did.
And it was actually amazing, by the way. It was amazing. I got back and I was like, yeah.
It feels good, right?
Yeah,
Good. I'm glad. Yes, we did. You were one of the ones that showed up. I contend that the good ones show up for the walking meetings.
I agree. And we brought a gymnast friend who they just became Big Ten champs.
Okay, so I wanted to talk about that. So I came in with no agenda, but that was in my secret mental agenda, talking about that guy.
Yeah.
And that's a complete redirect from where we were. And I'm not really sure how to bridge the conversation because I love talking about this, like reevaluating your life stuff. Mm-hmm. Does this kid tie into that in any way that we can make it work?
He sure does. He's one of us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Expand on that. What does that mean?
So it was interesting, right? So I'm a part of the Alumni Association of the University of Michigan, and I put in there, hey, if folks want to link up with me and ask me questions about, let's say real estate, or let's say something that's in my profile, let's say they want to do that. I said, hey, yeah, this would be cool. You'd feel free to do that.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, this is probably about 5 months ago, it had to be August. My guess is he just got back to school, just started training, and started doing random things for his time, right?
Yep.
His classes weren't in session yet. And he ran across me, and he reached out. And he said, hey, I'm a student at the University of Michigan. Hey, Randy, this is through LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And he said, go blue. So my response was, go blue. Hi, his name's Paul. I said, hi, Paul, go blue.
Yeah.
And then he said, hey, just checking in. There's some things that I have that are interesting that I want to talk to you about. So anyway, this went on, and he felt like I was blowing him off, but he didn't, necessarily in my mind ask a question yet. Like, do you want to, meet up or something like that? So we ended up talking on the phone, like one of the most enthusiastic, positive-minded, guys I think we'll bump into. So it was pretty neat. And then I said, well, hey, do you want to grab some dinner? And he said, yeah. So he said, can I bring my girlfriend? I said, for sure. So this is how it all comes together as well. And I said, okay, so I'll bring my wife. You bring your girlfriend. Let's go have dinner. Turns out she is a academic All-American gymnast. Her name's Rachele, and she just won. They just became Big Ten champs as well. And she's also second team Big Ten. Paul just returned from Cairo, Egypt, representing Team USA competing, and the men's team just became Big Ten champs. So all these things that are going on in their life and school and, trying to interact and hang out, and his mom's very important to him. And we just connected right away, and he's just great. I have Chelsea connected with Rachele, and Rachele, they're just so easy to like, and they're just positive, and he shared about, so how all this started. So yes, it does link up. He shared a book with me. Hey, have you ever read, what is it? He came up with Ego is the Enemy. Ego is the Enemy.
Did we talk about this on our walk?
I think we did briefly, maybe.
I'm writing this down.
Ego is the Enemy. And I said, okay, well, read The Greatest Salesman in the World, because he has this idea that he wants to get into sales. So I said, read The Greatest Salesman in the World by Og Mandino. And I said, I'll share some more. And he loved that. He loved that. Incidentally, since we're talking about books, I'm reading Shoe Dog right now. So how
do you spell that? S-H-O-E, shoe?
Yep,
like
Shoe
on
Dog.
Your foot?
After Phil Knight, how Phil Knight built Nike and the origins of Nike. It's a very good book.
Oh,
easy read.
Really?
Easy read.
Okay.
So it started off by, I guess, the rule of reciprocity. He was offering me a book to read. And he said, hey, I want you to, this would be a great book. And I looked at your profile. This would be a great book. I think you'd like it. And so that's how we came to know each other. And we've now met for dinner, I think, twice. And hoping to invite them over at some point to our home just to have dinner there. So
cool.
Just great. Just very positive. They're both very driven. They're both very motivated. They, teach their own. They do a lot of things together, so they're amazing.
Yeah, good. And they're part of this conversation often comes back to who you spend time with.
Right.
Starts to shape who you are. So how cool, especially at such a young age. That's what keeps popping up to me. Like, boy, if I had had the right mindset that I have now in my 20s,
Oh, yeah.
oh my Lord.
Yeah.
But we all blossom on our own timeline, I guess.
You might have invented, I don't know, SpaceX or
I
Tesla.
I know, right? Or something else.
Or something else, yeah.
Or something else. Well, what else? What did you want to talk about? Did you come in here like with I got to make sure we talk about this, or
Not
this?
at all.
Can we talk about when we met? I feel like that's worth
Yeah, we
unpacking.
met across the street.
100% of the time, I love telling this story because I was wrong. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we did.
You could tell the story.
Well, I'm not even sure how to unpack it in a pretty way. There is no way. I was part-time waiting table still at Champ's Pub across the street.
Yeah.
You came in, I think, with Aaron to celebrate.
I'm not sure. Wasn't it summer?
I don't know. It was so long ago.
Maybe it's her first real estate sale or something like that. I don't remember. And maybe it was like...
was Aaron with you guys?
Yep. Grabbing a quick bite and a bite and a pint, I think is what we were doing.
Yeah.
And yeah.
It was just a little celebration thing. And I'm a newly minted agent. And you were, well, actually, there's 2 times. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but the short version is you also came in with another real estate professional at one point.
Yep.
Who I asked privately if you were a douche because I thought you were such a douche. But that was me being dumb and ignorant. And turns out, like in very short order, over the years, I've uncovered that he was actually a douche and you are so not. So I feel like I always owe you a forever apology, I think. Maybe that's why I always want to talk about this because I didn't know.
I mean, the question is why, is it the way I talk? Is it the way...
No, I think it was my own inability to see anybody for who they really are. Because at that time in my life, I was putting people into categories. I did that for decades.
That's really odd to me, getting to know you. I feel like you have an innate ability to do that. I'm serious. Like we've worked together.
To do what? Put people in categories?
No, to understand who people really are.
It's not innate. I work at it. I worked to get here. It comes naturally to me now, but like when you know how you're ignorant to the things that you do blindly, when you're the parts of myself that are unconscious, I just can't see because they're unconscious.
Right.
And that was an unconscious thing for me back then, if that makes sense. Anyway.
Makes total sense. Yeah. I mean, we're always in the forest, so we can't see the trees.
Exactly.
Conceptually. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's back up a little bit. How did you get to where you are? Tell people who you are and what you do. I think that's important. We do have real estate specific audience.
Yeah.
What do you do?
So I'm a sales counselor with Allen Edwin Homes.
Is that a creative title for being a salesperson?
I think so.
Sales counselor. I like that word though.
It's each builder has a different way of saying. Some of them call them sales reps. Some call sales managers. They'll do the same thing. It's and maybe not with the same panache or ability or process, which you and I both know. There's some builders you go to and it's like you have to talk to your client ahead of time. Hey, they're going to be aggressive. They're going to try to,
yes,
beat up on you in a little bit. Just, we're going to, we're a team here. We're going to go in there. We're going to, we have to see if this is right for you.
Yeah.
And don't let them get in the way, kind of sort of thing. So I've tried to model my process, and Allen Edwin's process is very akin to that. Because again, over the years, I've been in real estate now for 19 years.
I was going to ask, how long have you been at Allen Edwin? Because from my seat, it looks like you've been at Allen Edwin forever.
So when was I hired? I was hired in, so this will be I'm in my 11th year.
Oh, you were just a minute older than I was when I got here then. Yeah. What'd you do before that?
Before Allen Edwin, I worked with, for the other 8 years I've been in real estate, 8-9 years, I worked with other builders.
Okay. So this is your wheelhouse.
Yeah. Prior to that was computers, recruiting, all kinds of stuff.
Okay.
I've lived in multiple states. So, but done a little bit of everything. I think it was interesting right out of how this all came to be. I guess the easiest thing is I was, and you'll find this, I think you did. I think the first time I mentioned this to you, you found it very hard to believe. I'm very introverted.
Yeah, it is difficult to process that.
I'm very introverted. My best place would be over in that corner, watching, observing everyone, not interacting with people.
Really?
So over in the corner, just watching and observing. That's my favorite little place. So I grew up out in the middle of nowhere in northern Michigan. Takes 20 minutes to get to town.
What town did you grow up in?
Little town of West Branch. So on the way going up north, right?
Yeah.
Common place people stop.
Yep. Outlet Mall.
I was 20 minutes.
Is that where the Outlet Mall
sure
is?
is.
It
Yep,
is. Yeah.
Yep,
Okay.
Yep. There's a Loggers restaurant. They have quality drafts anyway. So they grew up 20 minutes outside town. So I spent a lot of time by myself. So when people say, "Oh, what do you mean by yourself?" No, I've spent a lot of time by myself. And so I was, grew up that way, graduated high school, and then went to Michigan and spent spent my time at Michigan, believe it or not, living by myself.
Yeah.
Sounds like a very lonely life. So
on campus, how did you pull that off? Or did you buy a house down there? What?
No, just rented. So there's a place at the University of Michigan called the Pink House.
Okay.
So as the folklore goes, John Lennon stayed in the Pink House for a whole summer.
Well.
Oh yeah.
There's some status there.
So yeah, I should learn music too then, because I'm probably pretty horrible at playing instruments anyway. So left there. But as I was in school there, somebody recruited me to sell books door to door. So I sold books door to door in California.
What kind of books? And why? Wait.
So here in this state, they are leather-bound books. They are.
It's not Encyclopedia Britannica.
They're burgundy. So there was the Power Division, which was blue. It's called the Southwestern Publishing Company.
I'm Googling this.
Oh yeah, Southwestern Publishing Company. And so they're books that help kids out with homework. Now you could say, well, what the heck? Isn't that what school's for? Isn't that what parents are for? That's what I did. And it's like, things like back in the day, the FOIL method, first, outer, inner, last. What is a gerund? What is a participial phrase?
A gerund. Oh
yeah.
my,
You
that's
didn't know
a
that was coming up
deep
today, did
cut.
you?
No, I'm going to have to Google that too. They're still in business, by the way.
Those are ing words that act as a noun. So, who knew?
Oh my God, you are blowing my mind right now.
So, and the phraseology there was, if Mom and Dad, let's be honest, if you don't use it, you'll lose it.
Lose it for sure.
That's why Southwestern came out with the student handbooks. So, within 20 minutes, here's the crazy thing. So here's introvert Randy, going to join this week-long sales training.
Was the training in California?
It was in Nashville, Tennessee.
So you're in Michigan. You're from northern Michigan.
So drive to Nashville.
Cool. That's ballsy.
And then many times in life, and this has been said, my mother-in-law said this about me, that many times, Randy, you take the harder route versus the easier route. So maybe that's just, again, testing my mettle. So my team went out to California. I went to Lincoln, Nebraska.
To sell books?
To sell books.
Did you
in Omaha? So I
did you pick that location, or did they assign it, or were all the good ones taken?
So, or the good ones taken. I was supposed to go to California, so they didn't hear from me. So you're supposed to remit money every week, right?
Yes.
You're supposed to go to that town, open a bank account in your name, and you take money from these folks within 20 minutes. So in 20 minutes, I knock on the door. Next thing you know, I'm sitting on their porch or their front table, filling out an order pad, giving them a receipt, and they're giving me money that I put in a bank account, my bank account.
And the books are going to be delivered?
And I will deliver the books at the end of the year, at the end of the summer.
Oh, so this is like it's like the model now, like I could go sell a bunch of T-shirts and print them after I have enough to make a run.
Correct.
Same concept.
Same concept. Know how many you need to make. Yes. I'll return at the end of the year. They'll ship to me and I'll deliver them. So I would do this, right? And I was doing this in Lincoln, Nebraska, and Omaha.
Yeah.
Somewhere in the middle of America.
Yeah.
So I would do this, and then the company didn't hear from me. I didn't remit any money.
You just disappeared.
They didn't hear from me. Then all of a sudden one day they found out that, and they have like a President's Club trip for this company. They found out I was like over halfway there, like 6 weeks into the summer.
Oh, right. So you're selling your, like, I almost said selling your balls off. Yeah. You're just selling just like a maniac. You've got all this money. You're not turning it in. Are you turning in the order forms? It's like Girl Scout cookies.
No, I hadn't. Because usually how it's set up, there's an org, right? There's somebody who's been doing it for 4 or 5 summers. And
soft handoff.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And they're like just making sure they're managing the process here. I'm out there doing this all on my own. Then finally one day I'm like, man, this is getting pretty tough. I got to go. So then they get me to go to Salinas, California.
Was it getting tough because everybody already bought from you and there's nobody else to buy?
No, there's more people to buy. I was just, it's tough doing that whole thing because you're out walking neighborhoods, going door to door, knocking on doors, being, we always called it being a cartographer, making a list of what's going on at every home, so it was just getting tough. It's mentally challenging, right? And I used to be a long distance runner. That was mentally challenging, but this was a whole different deal. People, get off my porch. A buddy of mine in California, in Redding, California, had somebody chase him away with a shotgun. So there's different things that you encounter in the field. Yeah. So all of a sudden they said, all right, go to California. And I ended up getting in this apartment that a bunch of them had rented. There's probably like 6 or 8 of us in Salinas, California. And my turf was Watsonville, California. Now,
what does that mean? Is it good or bad?
At the time, it was like the number 3 gang capital of the U.S. or world. It was just interesting. Here's Randy from Northern Michigan, in the middle of nowhere. Yes. And now I'm in Watsonville, California.
Okay. Is that, not to throw Flint under the bus, but is that like Flint 15 years ago or so?
At the time, it probably kind of was. The people there were the nicest people and just the most amazing people. And then, of course, you have people picking on this this area, people picking on that. And the reality is some of these areas, they bought the most books. And it was just the most amazing, heartfelt reasons because they wanted their kids to have a much better and easier time than they did. So I ignored all that stuff and just did my job. And we'd have great meetings and so forth. And like Santa Cruz. Okay, the meeting this week is in Santa Cruz. So I'd be there on the beach for our, Sunday meeting. But we were working 80 hours a week easily. Yeah.
How old are you in this story?
I'm 19, 20.
Okay. So you're doing this over the summer.
Yeah.
Okay.
While everybody else is doing whatever they're doing, hanging out, partying and stuff like that, I'm selling books door to door. So I did that for 3 summers. And my final summer, I recruited a team, or my second summer, recruited a team of 5 people.
You recruited
people to go do it.
Okay. For you? Does it roll up?
For me, with me, they start off in their first week or so following me a couple times to see what I was doing. So here is, and I did it purposely because I knew I was an introvert. I did it purposely to force myself to do something different and to learn how to work with people, I guess you could say. And then, so then I graduated. When I graduated in Michigan, to fast forward through that, all these companies were recruiting me, but it was like MetLife, it was New York Life, it was Northwestern Mutual, it was, we see that you sold books door to door. It's kind of that vector marketing Cutco thing, right? Mm-hmm. And they all wanted to recruit.
What's your degree?
It's a poli-sci, political science.
Okay.
But it was mathematics. I was in the business school, a little bit mathematics, stuff like that. And then all of a sudden I looked, I'm like, okay, I've learned the truth of it is, right? My experiences selling books trumped a lot of my University of Michigan experiences.
Of course.
And you're not going to, and if any of your listeners are true University of Michigan fans or academics, are going to be like, how could you say that? My experiences selling books trumped, because it gave me things that we don't experience in school, whether it's money management, like don't spend all the money that's being given to you by these people, because you could. Yeah. So, then after that, all these folks, I got offers from all these folks. And then the one of them that I was at a job fair at the University of Michigan rejected me and said, nope. And then I thought in my head.
Wait, you applied for the position and they said no?
They said no.
Oh, that's.
So I was getting yes.
I feel like for a guy like you, you're like, that's the job I want. No?
You really do know me.
Is that what happened?
So so the craziest thing. So I took my resume, I printed it, I highlighted some things on there
that they needed to pay attention to.
They needed to pay attention to.
Love this.
I then sent it to their corporate office, to their director of human resources. Mm-hmm. And I said, hey, dear sir, I looked him up. He was, this guy. And I said, dear sir, I would just like you to take a look and I'd like you to give me the opportunity just to interview. You know, and
did you say in your letter, like, hey, you already rejected me? No. Okay.
So the craziest thing, so that was that I got rejected after a University of Michigan job fair where I submitted my resume. Next thing that happened, they flew me to Chicago, picked me up with a sedan, drove me by myself, not a group of people, to the corporate office.
Yeah. Wow.
And I was being led around, and all of a sudden I passed the gal that rejected me. She said, what are you doing here?
She recognized you.
Her name was Denise. I said, hi, Denise. I said, I'm here for an interview. But I'm like, no, I'm here for an interview. It's good seeing you again. And I kept on going. And there's no reason to do anything but just be positive and be good and nice. And of course, and I got the job, and it was in computing and networking and.
Can you name the company or no?
Yeah, they gave me a job.
What company?
CDW.
Okay.
Yep, they sponsor a lot of golf. You'll see them on golf tournaments.
There's a logo popping up in my head.
So that was an interesting experience because we went from, at the time, we were at like $1 or $2 billion in sales as a company to $7 billion at the time by the time I left.
Is that because they hired you?
I mean,
you should say yes.
Great.
The answer, it is that. Yeah, I recognize this logo.
Yeah, they have a little bronze statue outside, a bronze coin with my face on it. It's somewhere in the concrete. You just got to look extra hard for it.
I will make a note of that on my next trip to Chicago.
So I worked there for a little bit, and it was inside at the time. It was all inside sales, and I'd gotten used to that walking door to door, meeting with people face to face.
Yeah.
And built some great relationships. One of my accounts was Red Bull USA when they were penetrating the U.S. market.
Wow.
And so they would ship me at the time, hopefully this doesn't do anything, but they were shipping me a case of Red Bull a month. At the time, Red Bull was like the coolest thing on the planet,
yes,
right?
I remember drinking it at a rave one time. Oh, yeah. And it was the first one I ever had, and I will never forget it.
And my roommates were like, how are you getting all this? Can I have some? Like, no, this is mine. I will give you some, but you cannot have it all. So yeah.
You're like leveraging.
I was protective over my Red Bull account, right? So I left there and then had a moment of reflection. So we all have these things in life where we think, gosh, this just really makes sense. Yes. And it was moving to the Rocky Mountains. I've had dreams where the Rocky Mountains just felt like it was a place I needed to be. And that, again, I hope that doesn't sound too nutty.
Sounds perfect.
So I just had these dreams where I was, climbing 14ers and overlooking these rivers and in these canyons. And so I moved to Denver, Colorado. You could say with what job? Exactly. I didn't have a job.
Oh, so you just knew you had to be there.
Knew I had to be there. So I moved out there. And while I was out there, I was a personal trainer. I was a recruiter. And it was a great time out there. After being out there for, I think it was a year and a half, and I was enjoying myself, right? My aunt and uncle had a place out there, and so I was skiing in the same weekend. I could come down, and I didn't say well at this, but I could try at some golf. It'd be just in the same weekend, so it'd be just very cool. The air felt crisp, right? And just you could see forever, it seemed like. So
you're describing Mark's dream life right now.
Oh yeah, in the rides through Interstate 70, the canyons, the up and down. I know that two of you love to ride, and oh my gosh, it's beautiful out there. And all of a sudden, I got this call. Right? Would you consider? A recruiter called me. Would you consider moving back to Chicago? And my first answer was no.
Good.
No, I like it here. Please just come out for an interview. So I said, okay. Again, willingness to talk to people. After spending a lot of time of inside sales, I wanted to go talk to people. So I did. And that was the beginning of working. And it was Del Webb and Pulte after a 6-hour interview of meeting everybody. And, again, they wanted me to meet everybody. It was great. It was a time of great growth with Pulte Homes in the Chicagoland market.
That's what I was going to say. So this time you're with Pulte in Chicago.
Left CDW in Chicago, came back a year and a half later to work with Pulte and Del Webb, specifically Del Webb, yeah.
And then, so how long were you there?
What was it? I was with them for 3 years, 3.5 years, something like that. 3 years. I think it was about 3 years. And then there was a regime change in the company. And
was your position similar to what you're doing now?
It was, yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So regime change, and you were like, see ya? Didn't like the way it felt. Something there, out of alignment with whatever.
Out of alignment with my values.
Yeah.
So
I can relate to that.
yeah, and it was not a care for people.
Yeah.
You know, and these are people that a lot of them that I trained, I mentored, and even though I was part of their training program and stuff like that when people came in. So left there and then got job offers for Jacksonville and different things like that with the building. Because remember, that year was 2005.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Yes, that was right. Everything was high.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah.
Only a little bit more to go before it all collapsed.
The good times will never change, right?
No, yeah. I think, we hear a lot of that going on right now. It makes me wonder where the curveball is going to come from. But we'll circle back to that.
So took a job with a company in Indianapolis. So these are places where I knew no one, but it was to be division manager for a builder.
And people, it sounds like, are like hunting you down. Like,
They
hey,
were.
we want you. No, we want you.
Because they saw two things in my resume: selling books door to door and being a trainer at Pulte and Del Webb. Yep. And they were like, "Oh, there you got the Pulte resume, you got the books resume, right?" Mm-hmm. He likes books. No, I'm just kidding. So, so I took a job there, and then things started to change a little bit. Right now, it's now 2006. Things are starting to change.
And I missed it. Where did you go? You did not go to Jacksonville.
No, I went to Indianapolis.
Okay. Got it.
So I went to Indianapolis, and it was interesting. I worked with a company there, and their division was, hey, we're going to do this like this every year, regardless of what the market does. If the market's getting really high, we're going to do this amount. If the market's really low, we're going to do this amount. It was the same amount every year.
Like, what does that mean? Like same sales volume, same
Right. So if they
number
said,
of units built and sold.
So, hey, we're gonna close 500, let's say homes this year. We're going to close 500 next year. Those are some of the highest times in real estate at that time, right?
For the context of the conversation, is the number of units that the company you're working for at this point in your story a high number compared to everybody else, or a low number, or a...
They would be top 3, top 5 builders, but not usually 1 or 2. They'd maybe be
in
number
volume,
3, 4, or 5 in total volume.
Okay, so
in
they've
that
got
entire market.
very aggressive numbers.
They do. Comparatively, though, to everyone else, some people, it's like, oh, it's so good. Let's build, we built 800 last year. Let's build 1,000 this year. We built 1,000, so let's build 1,200.
Yes, this is my Verizon Wireless quota every single year. They're like, oh, you did that? Well, do better.
And so their thing was, right, you did that? That's great. Congratulations. Here's a new quota that's even higher.
Yeah, and we're going to pay you less for doing what you did unless you can do more.
Does that, we'll give you a bump in title, though. How does that sound?
Yeah, new name. Can I be called what did we call a sales? What was your title at job right now?
I think yours was sales representative at Verizon. Now we'll call you a senior.
Consultant, senior.
A senior.
Something.
Sales representative.
Words. It'll be
senior
new
consultant.
Words.
Yes. Yeah, new words. Oh boy. Yeah.
Anyway.
And we're going to pay you less. How's that sound?
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Please.
So,
okay.
So I was there managing division manager, and had a sales manager that was kind of the trainer, and things started to change there. And then.
So hold on. Don't go past this point in the story, because I have to wrap my head around why is it important to mention that they don't change the volume of sales? That's what I was trying to uncover. Like, if their number was hypothetically 500, why do I care whether they changed it or not? Because the market was shifting around it?
So they didn't shift with market shifts. So if the market got really low, they still did about 500.
Yeah.
The market got really high where they could hit 800, they still did about 500.
Okay. And what does that say? Like, what am I supposed to glean from that?
Slow and steady wins the race.
Got it.
So where some of those other builders ended up going bye-bye, many of them, they're always each year reaching for higher and higher and higher, because that puts a huge strain on your suppliers, right? It puts a huge strain on your labor.
Yes.
On your sales team, where they're like, okay, I'm done with this stress,
Yes.
And, all those things. And it's chasing, and I don't mean this in a mean way, but it's chasing the almighty dollar.
Yes.
And
it goes back to not having a why, if it's right.
Correct. So that division president believed I'm good with, because again, he would make a certain amount based on volume and profitability and all this, but also when you're striving for those numbers, your profitability goes down because, again, your unexpected errors and issues, errors and omissions in building. Oh, shoot, we forgot to do this. Now we got to take this, deconstruct it to reconstruct it proper. All those types of things come into play. So he got and understood that. So it was interesting for me to see that, to understand, okay, so slow and steady wins race, because he's still there and they're still trucking along, where a lot of the ones that were 1, 2, and 3, and sometimes when he was just number 5 in the market, those 1, 2, 3s, and 4s are all gone out of the market. They folded, they imploded because of all those strains, because of the lack of profitability and things like that. And
when things are good, it's hard to imagine them when they're bad and be prepared for that. Not even the same, but I was also just in Florida. And I tell you, I couldn't pack correctly to save my life because it's freezing here. And I don't know what 70 degrees feels like when I'm not in 70 degrees. It's the same with the market.
Yep.
So back to, did that track? Like, are you tracking what I'm saying? Okay, 100%. Good. All right.
Yeah. I mean, I do want us to talk about the market. So fast forward, one of the people I trained and became close to, he was a Notre Dame guy. We still communicate probably about once a year. Great guy. He grew up literally in the middle of nowhere. It took him 45 minutes to get to town. In Pennsylvania, grew up in Pennsylvania.
Oh, love it.
And oh my gosh, yeah, in the middle of nowhere. What a great place to be. His parents at the time owned a lot of acreage of trees.
Okay.
So I need to catch up to him and see how the last couple of years have been.
Yeah,
for
really.
him. So he called me one day. He was working for a different builder, believe it or not, in Indianapolis after we both moved from Chicago. And as the story goes, met a girl. He called me and he said, hey, the vice president of one of the divisions of this company just went to a company in Iowa and said, hey, would you consider? I'm like, hey, I really appreciate it. He's like, I think you'd be perfect for it. You just talk to him. Same sort of thing, right? Talk to him. So they said, hey, so I flew out to Des Moines, Iowa after I said, listen, folks, I'll come out for a conversation. I'm interested to talk to you. I'm not moving to Iowa.
Yeah.
Like 6 weeks later, I'm living in Iowa. So the importance of that company that I learned was cash flow. And I still,
it's funny.
Every now and then,
It's exactly what was in my head when you were talking about the builders who were just striving at the expense of having a healthy, robust business.
Yeah. So I was only there for about a year in Iowa.
Yeah.
So cash flow.
Did they not have any?
They at the time, there's just a lot of chaos. They were the largest builder in Iowa, 1,300 units a year. And that's a big amount.
Yeah.
I think they were the second largest or third largest employer in the state. They built condos, they built malls, they built all this stuff. So
Are they still in business?
What is your niche? No. That's why I left.
Oh, can you name them if they're not in business, or do we not want to do that?
I'm friends with the son of the former founder.
Okay.
So you'd easily be able to look it up. I don't think he would mind anymore.
That's all right.
There's just a lot of chaos at the time, and felt bad for all of them. And there was a lot of, it was one of those things when very important, his father, founder, and I'd been 3 weeks on the job and his father had passed away.
Oh.
And that's a co-founder of the company. And there's just a lot of things that happen at that point. And then,
and this is right. What year is it now? 2006?
That is
2007. I don't know how long it took to hit out there.
That was 2000, I think now 7, let me think here, 2005. That was like 2006 that started unraveling.
Okay.
And, again, it's, paying all this money for a trainer to come out of Florida and big name in sales training for new home sales. However, I said, are we spending our money smartly on this? Because it came out of my budget, by the way, too. So, we have to. So I left there and took some time to think about, do I still want to be in this home building thing? Because now the year is, I think I left there in 2000. Actually, when did I leave there? 2007? 2000.
Are the wheels coming off yet?
2008, yeah, the wheels came off. So I moved to Florida in 2008. And that was just a crazy time, right? So moved to Florida. That's when all these developments became ghost towns, and you know, nobody could see the end. You're the end of the blight, so to speak, right? So I learned a lot of things at that time too, and then all of a sudden, out of the blue, I get a call with two. One was a huge national builder, right? NVR, which big national builder, very robust stock price, balance sheets. And then another one was Wayne Homes, which was on your lot building, which I had no prior knowledge as to, you know, what is that, you know, in a sense, you know, and you and I know what it is.
Yes.
At the time, it was just all they built was in Ohio, and then they just crept up south of I-94 into Michigan, and interviewed with them, had a great interview, and I spent a couple years with them, and then moved back to Michigan. And then at that time was interviewing with a builder in Ohio, and then Allen Edwin Homes, and obviously I chose Allen Edwin. So
you chose Allen Edwin a long time ago.
11 years ago, yeah.
So let's see. Is this the longest position at any one company? Because you literally just rattled off. I went here, got recruited there, left there, got recruited, went to here, go, and now here you're landed. Is this home for you? It's not a trick question. I know you have to probably answer a certain way, but
it is. Allen Edwin does a lot of great things. I have no plans of going anywhere else. I've been here 11 years. You know, it's the ownership does a great job, and the you know, leadership teams do a great job. You know, it was interesting. You mentioned going from here to here to here to here. I was a millennial before doing the millennial job thing was even popular.
Right. Yeah. Trendsetter, you.
I know.
You started it. No, you know, there is something to be said for feeling like you're home.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I'm torn in my head about which way to go from here, because I feel like I should have prepped you for this, but can we cover some of the uncomfortable things about Allen Edwin? Like word on the street that I'm sure you know about.
You can hit me with anything.
Well, I'm not trying to, I don't want this to come across like a gotcha. Like I'm not trying to do that, but I think it's important to address. Mm-hmm. Right. So I know as a real estate professional, my belief about your company and your brand and what you guys build is that you are the only ones meeting the needs for that segment of buyers that needs, you know, in my mind, it's an entry-level home, and it's a solid product, a new product that there aren't enough of, and nobody else is building them.
Yeah.
Out in the world, some of the impressions I run into are, oh, Allen Edwin, as though, and you know, I get to speaking very carefully because I don't want to offend anybody, but like as though it's some kind of throwaway home or a dilapidated trailer or something. And I don't understand where that comes from. Could you help me understand where that comes from? Did your company used to suck?
You know, it's...
Or is it other builders are mad because you're building lots and quickly and they're selling? Or what is it?
It's interesting, right? So Allen Edwin in the state of Michigan is a big kid on the block. They are.
Okay.
Build more homes than any other builder and have for, gosh, I don't know, it's been now probably 8 years. Any other builder in the state of Michigan. And
nobody else is building for the niche that you guys are building, at least that I'm aware of. Maybe they are. Who's your competition?
Ourselves. You know,
okay.
And again, that's, you're being creative with words. I'm not.
No, yeah.
You know, I don't think anyone else is trying to help out that first-time buyer. The interesting thing is, right, there's 4 different collections of homes. So do we sell homes that are, you know, $800,000? Yes, in the areas that we have land positions. Our product collections are based on land positions, right? And again, it's imagine.
I know that. That's very interesting.
Opening a community in with our traditions collection, which is that collection that could reach, gosh, on the west coast of Michigan, that could reach a $1 million home, $1.2 million, $1.3 million, probably.
This is the traditions collection?
Traditions collection, right. So, you know, there's communities back in 2012, 13, 14, 15 that had a lot of traditions collection homes. And imagine this, if we went to Fowlerville and we said, hey, we're going to put in $800,000 traditions homes right behind the dealerships.
Doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make sense.
No.
So it's right sizing and appropriately sizing homes and collections for areas. And there's a lot of builders that love that catching the big whale, right? And the big whale is buying an $800,000 home, a $650,000 home. Today, it's so difficult with labor, with supply chain and all those pieces and parts to deliver a home in the time period you said you're going to, at the price you said you're going to.
Yeah.
Those two predictability pieces are absent. And Allen Edwin has a ton of headwinds trying to do that, but they do a great job. And I think a better job than any of the other builders. And again, I don't know exactly every single builder, you know.
Oh, could you? That's, yeah.
In the state of Michigan, I would say easily they're if not number one, they're easily in a given month top three, right? So it's very difficult. But you look at the underserved areas, what you talked about, that first time buyer, and that's, you know, a lot of those folks, they can buy traditions. It's not that that's not something they can do. And, you know, a traditions collection, let's say in Howell home would be probably in the 500s, which, you know, there's plenty of homes that are now in that price range. You know, really the Integrity Collection and Hometown Collection, those are two collections that are probably more for that first time buyer based on budget. But there's ebbs and flows all the time. Like right now, we're seeing a lot of conventional and cash buyers, where a year ago was a lot of FHA and USDA RD buyers. You know, and there's always a smattering of VA buyers within that too. But
Yes.
it was more VA, FHA about a year and a half ago, and now it's more conventional and cash. So it's just doing the best we can to right size and fight the headwinds of price goes up. But you look at this year, prices are probably going up 1% a month for the rest of the year. And I would argue well into next year.
Yeah.
And you know, what can we do about that? So Allen Edwin does, I think, a very good job of trying to manage that, and they've done that for a number of years.
So the four collections you said, but I only have three: Traditions, Integrity, Hometown, and what else?
So the one that you can slide in there is the Elements collection between Integrity and Traditions.
Elements.
Yep.
Okay. So how do you guys stay in front of all the weird price fluctuations, or at least absorb it in a way that balances out for the consumer? I know prices shift over time. If I'm buying a new home from Allen Edwin, the price is different today than it was 6 months ago.
For sure.
But if I had bought it and locked it in 6 months ago, my price is what it was then, what we agreed to then.
Correct.
So how do you guys lock that and not pass along these, you know, what am I doing? Roller coaster.
So when you look at a lot of different builders today, if they have the cash flow, funds, equity, so to speak, to be able to build mostly showcase homes, that's what we call them, but the general terminology, right, are spec homes. Everything's specified. If they could build those and only those, they probably would.
Okay.
And you'll see some builders in our community, Livingston County, that have switched to that in the last 6, 8, 10 months, that they're only building spec homes.
Right.
Or if you want to build from scratch, they're only going to allow you white cabinets and you know, maybe this color granite counter. So they're trying to, in a sense, buy in bulk, like a Sam's Club or a Costco or something like that. And so it's, if we can, you know, we'd like to build mostly showcase homes, not mostly in there's greater predictability in pricing, right?
Now what this means is you guys build the home and sell it, not we
choose everything.
Come in and build me a custom home. That's a different product.
We build it both ways. You can build it from a pre-sold where you decide on all the colors, or a showcase home. One is going to have a little bit earlier completion and delivery and occupancy timelines.
Yep.
And the one that you build from scratch is going to be a little bit longer. So the pre-sold one, or the one that builds from scratch, that's terribly difficult and challenging to figure out where a price is going to be in a year.
Yeah. It's impossible.
So we're locking in prices today, which Allen Edwin does. Many builders don't. And then a year from now, gosh, you know, what kind of exposure for the company? And a lot of times, you know, folks get it today, right? Folks kind of figured it's going to be a year, 15 months, 18 months to build a brand new home today, given everything that's all the headwinds,
and
right?
Like I swear we had conversations not that many years ago where it was 6, 8 months.
Yeah.
To get in from a hole in the ground to get into your house. And now you're talking how many? 15
Probably
months?
about 8-9 months ago. It was probably 8-9 months.
And now it's double.
To build from scratch. Yeah, it's probably about 13 months for us to build one from scratch from somebody, that they go to our 7,000 square foot design studio and they pick out all the things, and it's about 13 months. So it's just, I've seen a lot of folks, if they can, they're going to go, purchase brand new. And I think a lot of them are willing to get that predictability. I know what my price is. I know we're going to be. I don't have to put in all these offers. I don't need appraisal gap coverage. I don't need to waive inspections. It's brand new.
Yeah, I don't have to go fight all of these other people.
My home's energy efficient. It's third-party validated. All these pieces and parts. Oh, yeah, I've heard of this product. I've heard of Moen or whatever it is. I've heard of these things. Oh, and there's a warranty. Gosh, I didn't get that one on that one over there.
Yep.
I don't have to be in a bidding war. So, which when you think about pouring all that into the bucket, right? You're pouring in the bucket. All of a sudden the bucket starts to overflow. Okay, we got to get a new bucket. That new bucket moves things out another 30 to 60 days. Then we fill that bucket. So that's how it got to be 13 months.
That's insanity to me.
I mean, the main thing is labor. Again, we don't want to, getting back to that builder down in Indianapolis, our number is 3X a day. We want to build and close 3 homes a day, which equals about 700 closings a year. So we help 700 families, so to speak, into our homes a year. Could we build 1,200? Probably.
Yeah.
15? Is there a need for it? 1,800? Sure.
Yeah.
I mean.
Well, and you guys did some smart things too, like finishing neighborhoods that were abandoned, like the builders that didn't understand the cash flow or didn't survive.
Yep. Isn't that amazing? It's, you said some of the tough things. Oh my gosh, I got calls when we entered different communities in this county because my name was on some of the signs, right?
Yeah.
Or, there'd be a model and my name was there. And I can't believe you guys are building this. This is bringing down the values of our entire community. No.
It's such a backwards, it's wild. What you're talking about is wild to me because it's so not based in reality.
Correct. Well, I got the calls. Yeah.
Yeah. And people need a place to live. At the end of the day, people need a home. Show me where else I can get this much home for this much money for this family. Let's not forget there are actual people needing roofs over their heads, and you guys are building them.
Yeah.
And they're appealing floor plans and they're well spaced. And I mean, not to just blow smoke up your ass or, I'm not here to try and sell your product, but I look around and nobody else has this in our community.
Right. Nobody else is doing their best to hit that underserved area.
Yeah.
So, market wise, right. And again, I hear things today like, oh yeah, well, I'm going to wait.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Can we drive this point home? I'm sorry. I think that's my phone vibrating.
No,
is it yours?
Here. Yeah.
Okay. That's all right. You're a popular guy. Let's talk about this. Let's wait shit. It's so hard because I understand where it comes from when my buyers just want to wait because it's brutal out there.
And who wouldn't want to wait?
Of course.
I want to wait till it cools. So, so being the guy that likes to sit over in the corner observing everyone, I like numbers and things, and I like to understand facts. And maybe a time or two I've been accused of being super logical, right?
Maybe.
Who knew? Here's the things that I understand best, and then there's one that I just kind of looked at too, and there's 46 million millennials that will want a home in the next few years.
Listen closely. I have this conversation at least 3 times a day. Go.
38 million Gen Zers behind them. They're going to want homes, and now you have those folks, and while we're sitting at about 0.59 months, so about 2.5 weeks of inventory in the county. So what does it take to get from there to where the prices don't go up or don't go down? That's 5 to 6 months of inventory.
Yes.
1,000% increase. Okay, so you have those types of things. You have the headwinds of Wall Street that's buying a ton of real estate in the nation.
Yes, first-time home buyers, you are now competing with your retirement,
your 401k.
Whatever entity, whatever your retirement vehicle is, it's trying to buy that house too.
Yep.
And I say that I get some shit for saying this, but I mean, our baby boomers are sitting in a lot of inventory. They're living longer. I can say this. My parents are baby boomers. I love them very much. They're not dying. They're actually buying second homes. So that inventory is not getting unlocked. So from a pure logic inventory standpoint, what's the way out? How do we meet the housing needs of these? How many millions? Do you say millions? Billions? Trillions? Gazillions?
Gazillions, I think, is the gazillions. I like that.
Okay.
So the interesting thing is, right, in you look at, people will say, gosh, interest rates. Well, if they go up, the housing market's going to crash. My answer to all this, my question always based on what? Based on what data? I love to hear the data. What is the evidence? Well, there is no evidence. Okay, did you actually test anything? Did you collect any data? So the housing market's going to implode if interest rates go up. Well, 1981, 1983, interest rates were on average 18 to 15%, and we're going down over the years, getting closer, right? But 18%. My mother purchased a home with a mortgage at an 18% interest rate.
My parents did too.
Yeah, so people bought homes.
And
interest rates were high.
My first interest rate was 8%, and we're right now freaking out about flirting with 3.5%.
Right, or even 4%. The historical 40-year average is 7%. So. Wow. So you look at these types of things, okay, with the interest rates. Well, that's not it. Well, what if it's just going to happen? It's happened before. This is a supply issue. Mm-hmm. The biggest thing that I think about is that for the nation to be healthy housing wise, and this is just residential housing. I'm not talking about apartments or anything like that. Needs to have on average 1.5 million new homes built per year. That's 1.5 million permits. I believe in the last 12 months, we just hit 1.3 million. That's been it's been below a million a year. It's been below, I think, for 14 years. So
is that housing starts?
Housing starts, yes. Yeah, permits. Okay. Yeah, so if you look at 14 years, so how long is it going to take to dig out of this? So when people say when prices come down, that is inherently 7 to 8 months of inventory in a market. Mm-hmm. We're at 2.5 weeks. Mm-hmm. So how do you reconcile, okay, when the prices come down? Now, can they forever and ever and ever go up at 1% a month? I don't think that's the answer.
Of course not. You're going to find that balancing point where they stop doing that. But then when they do come back, it's also contextual because we are in a time of inflation.
Yep.
Do you really think prices are going to go back to foreclosure market bonanza ways?
Nope.
I say hell no.
Not a chance.
One, all of the lending institutions got really good at processing foreclosures. They know the value of their product, right? And they didn't then. They were inundated too. They had like one guy with one desk who didn't know what to do. They were trying to maybe figure out how to take a loss on the inventory they were sitting on and selling the mortgages back to Fannie and Freddie or however that shit works. Now everybody knows, and they're well-oiled machines. You've got tons of competition for the same product. I think prices will go down when the population shrinks enough that we just have too many houses. Well, I'm not shitting you.
Ultimately, the population needs to slow down or shrink, but that's not going to happen for a long time because
decades,
the 46 million, the 38 million, right? So
the babies that we're going to be housing in the future have already been born. Like we can see that the data, barring. So I wrote down some things that I don't want to forget. One, context matters, and that's what you're providing. I think people hear that interest rates will go up, and that's going to reduce house prices, and they heard that one line somewhere. There is no one thing that makes a market. It's always a confluence of circumstances.
Yep.
So even if interest rates go up, there are these other mitigating factors that you already talked about. That's what I had to get out of my head. Anyway, back to population.
So but the population, we already know what's coming. Mm-hmm. We know how many years in a row it's been the lower number of permits.
Yeah.
So again, if you think about if nothing is backfilling, so we're selling homes, and we're not building enough, the conveyor belt is not outputting enough to backfill need.
Yep.
And we do that for 14 years. So what is the answer? Well, when people say, well, next year the price are going to come down. Based on what? All the numbers that I know, is it 8 years? Is it 10? Is it 18? Is it 14? Because 14, it's been 14. I think it's somewhere.
Unless there is a dramatic shift in the buying and housing patterns of our entire population. And I'm talking like a cultural decision that we all just want to live in huts off the land, or something really radical where people just aren't buying houses anymore. It's not going to happen. This is Black Swan level talking.
I love it. I don't mind living in a hut, like the movie The Patriot. I'm living in a hut. Again, obviously there's the weather events like a hurricane, hopefully not happening. But
sure.
So one thing that I think folks don't talk about, well, I'm just going to go rent. Okay, what are you going to go rent? Yeah. It's if we look at a place like, again, I'm not picking on Fowlerville, but it's easy to talk about this. So we go say, let's go rent an 1,800 square foot home in Fowlerville.
Yep.
That's about $2,200 to $2,400 a month. An 1,800 square foot home in Fowlerville. So, okay.
And for those of you who may not know, Allen Edwin holds some homes and rents them. So this is not Randy just like talking out his ass.
It's not. In fact, I don't do a good job of that.
And while we're talking, I'm looking up. There was a time where I had a very high level of renter clients looking for a place.
Yep.
And my stock response to anybody who called me for a rental was like, right now there's about 9 properties to choose from in Livingston County. And that was over a year ago. 9 feels like a high number now.
I think there's 0 in Brighton, by the way.
I'm just going to search on our MLS really quick.
So let's use those numbers though. $2,200 to $2,400 a month for an 1,800 square foot home.
Yeah, that's $1.25 a square foot ish. If my mental math is
to purchase a brand new 1,800 square foot home with a 5% conventional loan is it's about between $1,850 and $1,900 a month. Principal, interest, taxes, mortgage insurance, and homeowners into the whole shebang. So why would you go rent for $2,200 to $2,400? Now, again, those in your audience that are landlords, I'm not picking on you here, but that's the thing. There's not enough to rent and there's not enough to purchase. So this is a huge supply thing, which is why I don't see prices coming down anytime soon. I don't see or ever, like it's going to happen like it did in 2008. No, that was a financial thing. Well, you can't, that's an apple and an orange. They're not the same.
And you also have to do the whole equation. I'm a big fan of doing balanced equations. So let's say prices plummet. Are you sitting on piles of cash that you will be comfortable spending while the apocalypse is happening and home prices have plummeted? Probably not. And will you be able to get that sweet ass mortgage that you qualify for today? Probably not. So the 2 ways that you're going to buy that cheap ass house, you really have to look at those before you make that your strategy.
Correct.
So I finished my search and there are 7 properties for rent in Livingston County on the MLS. So this does not include apartment complexes. Like this is literally only people who have put their property in the multi-list. And they are $950 for a 1-bedroom, 1-bath, 566 square foot property in Brighton, up to $4,000 for this is on East Shore Drive, 2-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,700 square foot in Green Oak.
Doesn't that blow you? That just blows my mind.
Yes.
7.
Yeah, 7.
7.
And the 950 is an outlier. The true
for sure.
The true average that I'm seeing is 21, 23, 24, 26, 27. Take out the 950 and the 4, we're talking $2,500 a month for a 1,500 square foot property in Livingston County. Yeah. You can build a house for, what did you say your number was?
You can build a house with a 5% conventional in Fowlerville
for
$1,850 to $1,900.
Yeah. And you're building equity with your, even if it does only increase by 3% a year, which is a super conservative number, you're putting money in toward your mortgage to reduce the debt. So if you had to sell it, it's probably going to make you a bunch of money.
So the numbers are double-digit year-over-year increases in 1 to 2 months of inventory, single-digit in 3 to 5 months of inventory. Then 5 to 6 months is where it's kind of just flatlined.
Yep. And that's considered a healthy market.
Yeah.
I've been telling my clients for years that a healthy, like the real estate, people come up to me and they probably do this to you too, now that we're talking about it. Oh, the real estate market must be great. Oh, you must be just making shit tons of money. And it's always this impression that it's great. I use the analogy of a skinny girl. She's anorexic. This is not a healthy market. It's not great. It might look good for a minute. from far away, but up close, this is brutal and messy. I don't know about you, but I'm like working 3 times as hard as I ever have. It's because of the panic. There's panic. Are you seeing panic? I've seen panic with you. How many times have we had a buyer put down money, build a plan to build a house, and then freak the fuck out?
Yeah.
They're doing it for building. They're doing it for buying.
Yeah.
And you got to go sell that house again. Talk another buyer, be the therapist. I don't know.
I like inventory somewhere between probably 3 and 6 months. I was going to say 4 and 6 months, but 3 and 6 months, 4 and 5 months, whatever it is, because there's some normalcy to it. It's not...
People aren't panicking.
So I saw some type of numbers that 70% of people nationwide, again, I'm not just saying here, nationwide, are upset with their purchase post-closing.
Yes. Regret, buyer's remorse.
Yeah. You know, because all the things, I waived my inspection. I was a part of this bidding war. I waived, I said yes to appraisal gap coverage.
Yes.
And now here I am. And oh, by the way, I need to have new carpet. I maybe need a new roof, whatever it is.
Yes. I gutted my savings to buy the house, and now I can't do anything.
I borrowed on my 401k, and I borrowed in, an extravagant amount. It's
and now have you heard of this new product that is hitting the market where you can, if you need financing, you're at a disadvantage against a cash buyer. There is a mortgage product now that they will buy the house for you with cash, so you can compete as a cash buyer.
Oh, no kidding.
And they're obviously taking a fee, I think, on both ends, because then they charge you for the privilege of the cash, and then they are locking you into the mortgage that they're also selling you to buy the house from them, which is like economically, like from a free market standpoint, great. There's a demand, but those home buyers are shouldering all of that.
I think there's a movie about that. I think it was called The Sopranos.
Oh, yes.
A series.
Yes.
I was thinking of The Godfather, right?
Yes. The mafia. There's so much. Dude, we did an episode, and it's very mafia analogy.
Oh, it sounds that way. It sounds like the old school, like Brooklyn loan shark. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, because there's no way I would believe that interest rate is going to be somewhat normal.
How could they lock the rate today for a house that they're not? I'm not intimately familiar with the product, so we're talking out our ass here speculatively.
Yeah.
It could be, I'm sure for the right, I believe there's an ass for every seat. So for the right ass, that is the seat.
Well, there's people like, now I can compete. Yeah. Or now I'm going to win. Are you though?
Are you? Yeah.
Are you going to win?
Well, and I don't want to leave with that taste in my mouth for this conversation, in part because what's popping into my head now is buyers say, I don't want to overpay. I don't think you can. You are the market. You find something you want. Mm-hmm. And if it's the one, then you take your best crack. And if you win, you just made the market. If you lose, then you lose on your own terms. These are my guiding principles.
Correct.
Always lose on your own terms in this market. Don't kick yourself because you didn't offer $1,000 more because you were trying to get a deal. It doesn't work today. 6 years ago, you could do that.
Correct. I agree with you on again, it sounded like we talked about, oh my gosh, and the sky is falling type principle, but it's not. There's, in my opinion, there's still no better time to purchase than right now. This is still by far and away the best time. And is yesterday better than today? Probably. And today will be better than tomorrow, probably. Mm-hmm. But to your point, it's finding the best solution out there for that family and being happy with it. Not like, hey, I won, I lost. It's just being happy with the solution that you've come up with.
Yep.
Because I like we talked about, I do think prices are still going to go up. Does that mean hurry, rush? No, it's just having the right expectations.
Yes.
It's, and I don't know how else to say this, so hopefully I say it right. I think being emotionally mature about what's going on and about your decisions. Mm-hmm. And because the choice is all yours, mm-hmm. So you laughed there for a second?
No, it's perfect. I used to have a buyer consultation bit that I would do that has to do with being emotionally ready to buy a house.
Oh, yeah.
So you just touched on that.
We're clicking.
Yeah, we are clicking. Yeah. It's good. I think we're wired similarly, right?
I think so.
Always advocating for the best interest of the client, right?
For sure.
And that changes as the market changes. You can't always do the same thing no matter what the market's doing.
So
it's
true.
an unbalanced equation.
Yep.
So
true.
Well, dang. How do we, I don't know where to go from here, Randy.
I think we went so many great places, so many amazing places.
I know. And I have all these notes that I've taken, and I keep thinking, we'll go back to that. We'll go back to that. And then of course I don't remember.
I think that the easiest thing is
go back to your why.
Go back to your why. Why are you doing it? I need more home for the family. Okay. That's a great why. Mm-hmm. Mindset is everything. And then I do, and that's what I came today just thinking about it. That's what's been my top of mind, right? Mindset is everything. The way you think about it, the way, that whole intuition thing. If it doesn't feel right, then it probably still isn't right.
That was one of the things I wanted to go back to.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask, do you have telepathic experiences, like weird connectedness, synchronicities? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I literally, is it inappropriate?
Been there before, seen it before. I had that, obviously that's why I had a draw to the Rocky Mountains.
Yep.
It's so interesting, right? When you look at things, if things feel right, they probably are right. If they feel like, hey, this just doesn't feel right, then, I would shake a leg and get on down the road.
Yeah. So this is actually perfect because it applies to everything in life, including buying a home. So sometimes, yes, look at the equation. Yes, do the math. It's got to be balanced. It's got to make sense in your head, but you can do whatever you want. It doesn't always go well if you're only listening to logic or you're only trying to win and getting in your own way, or ignoring that voice, that gut feeling, that instinct. You've seen this. When people walk into a house and it's the one, they light up like they fell in love. It's like love at first sight. It feels different. They act different. They behave different in spite of themselves. It radiates off of people. And when I see that on people, I know my job. You know what I'm talking about, yeah?
It's funny, right? You'll see that with them, and they will they'll do this, right? Mm-hmm. You'll see them, if it's two people, they'll look at each other and then they'll look away because they don't want
you to catch them.
They don't want me to catch it. They don't want you to catch it. Or one of the two of them will just start smiling, right?
Yep.
And they'll just be like, they can't hide it. Mm-hmm. Or one will go out and sit in the car.
Yes.
And that's the one that they knew, the two of them knew, hey, you can't contain yourself. You got to go to the car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's almost like a fear of being sold, or like you're going to take advantage of the fact that you know that they want it or something like that. For me, that shows up like I know how hard we have to fight.
Yeah.
It's tough when a client is in their head and they're mental mathing, or they're trying to find a way out for themselves.
Right.
I don't know.
Well, it's that age-old principle, right? Buyers shop through exclusion, not inclusion.
Say that again. This is new to me. I've done lots of sales seminars. What are you talking about?
Just that they shop through exclusion, not through inclusion. They're not trying to say, yep, but we've had them, right? We've had those buyers where, yep, I like that one. I like that one. I like that one. Most buyers aren't like that though. They're trying to
tell you what they don't want.
We're going to see 7 homes. Yep. Mm-hmm. And they're going to try to check them off the list. They're not trying to check them on the list.
Yes. You're right. That's absolutely.
So, although, right, retailers want us to shop through inclusion. I want this one, and I want this one. I want this color. Yes. I want this. I mean, retailers do. But again, most buyers try to check things off the list.
Yeah.
So,
and you and I are in this world. We do and deal with and see houses every day. And people do this now, I think on average, every 7 to 10 years.
Yeah.
How are you supposed to know what you're doing? You don't. You got to find a professional.
Always.
Including looking at the new builds. I'm guilty of this. I fucking forget about you sometimes. Not please, you, like as I know. But see, I'm out there fighting, trying to find houses. How much better can I serve my clients if I'm like, oh yeah, by the way, let's make this part and parcel. We'll go talk to Randy and see what he has. And if that's a no for you, then we can go back to war and try and win a house.
It's so true when you think about a calendar 12-month period. So sure, to build from scratch is 13 months, but let's think about a 12-month period. If somebody wants to pick out everything and go through that, nice streamlined process. Okay. So they, let's say, look for 6 to 8 months, lose on some bids, lose on maybe they are able to get an inspection. They lose on that. So now you're 8 months on the road, and you could be a home that you built from scratch. You could be moving in and
you could have that
4 or 5
mental
months.
piece of having put that part to rest. The house is coming. That problem has been solved.
Yep. It's many times I meet with folks that have their, they walk in the door, their tongue's hanging out, so to speak, right? They're just exhausted. And, there's better, and that's why we have, and again, that's why, builders are trying to build showcase homes, those spec homes, and we're trying to build spec homes. But today, a lot of them are sold at dirt, and that's a nice thing, because when a buyer buys it, the price is locked in, so they now have predictability. Now, if they could do, in some cases, a rate lock, again, if it fits them, again, it's got to fit those individuals.
Yeah. We all really put together custom packages.
Yep.
I was talking about my 2 millimeters, right? It's that last little bit. That's the only bit that matters. The first 80% of anything you can do yourself. It'll be fine enough.
Yeah.
But it's that last 20% where you're doing the custom shit. You're finding the right mortgage product for the client to buy the house that they want to build, even though it's the floor plan that you already designed.
Yep.
Right?
It's funny. So I do watch some Michigan things. Like I was invited as a guest to a women's gymnastics meet, and I was sitting next to Paul, and my wife Chelsea is there. So we're all there having a great time. Like, I am blown away at
Cool.
the way gymnasts can,
Yes.
quite honestly, move, pound their body, the strength, all of that stuff. And there I want to watch the whole meet, because it's amazing watching what they can do. Last night, it's funny. I was like, I'm going to watch the basketball game. I literally watched a little bit of the last couple of minutes. Last couple, right?
Yeah. Oh, the 2 millimeters.
Yeah. That's, that's all you really need to watch. A lot of times in a well-contested sports match of anything, right? It's truly, you just need to watch the last few minutes.
Yeah. I make this joke. I'm not a sports watcher. Like,
Yeah.
I bet on sports, so I have a reason to watch them. I couldn't care less.
Right.
And Mark will come to me and be like, oh, it's tied in the third quarter. That's football, right?
Yep.
And I'll be like, yeah, it's like nothing happened.
It's like nothing happened. So
Nothing happened.
What
Why are we talking about
we could
this?
be reading. We could be,
There,
all
back to the
kinds of
reading.
good stuff. So, yeah.
But that's watching those athletes that you got to see last night, is that watching that expertise. It's what makes it worth watching, right?
For sure.
Cool.
Yeah. And it's, and again, what separates all that stuff. So it's interesting. I'm going to bounce back to reading real quick here, and Shoe Dog, right?
Yes.
So
I wrote that down because I'm also a reader.
And I used to be a very consistent runner. So way back in the day, there was a middle distance runner for the United States by the name of Steve Prefontaine. So Bill Bowerman was the legendary coach from the University of Oregon that kind of coached a lot of these runners. Also was partner with Phil Knight, the founder of Nike.
Oh.
So they were constantly testing these shoes out on these athletes. But it was just interesting. Steve Prefontaine, Bill Bowerman, that coach, said, this is the best runner I've ever coached. And he coached all kinds of All-Americans and these great Olympians and so forth. And they said, well, Steve Prefontaine's not the fastest. He's not the most athletically, genetically gifted. It was his mindset.
Yeah.
He believed he should win every race. He believed he should compete at the highest level. He believed, this guy Prefontaine, he was shorter than the other runners, not as fast. He knew to beat him, he'd have to start, in a race, right? In a running race, you have to start your kicks, so to speak, a lot earlier. He knew that day, either he was going to set a personal record or they both were, but no matter what, he was going to set a personal record. So he figured both, the top two finishers probably would too. So he was just his mindset, willing to push his body to the greatest limits, well beyond what he was allegedly athletically and genetically gifted to be able to do.
Yeah.
So
I love it. That's the whole new rabbit trail, that whole mindset and how powerful your brain really is, or your mind or your beliefs. I think it's more than just your brain.
So getting here even in the morning, I was like, I want there to be green lights. I want there to be easy parking in front. Yeah. Have you ever gone to, let's say, an event, whatever type of event?
Yeah.
Like, okay, I want and I need a parking spot up front. I want, and magically,
there it is.
You're manifesting that, and boom, one comes up. It's I think, therefore I am, right?
Yes.
I think, therefore I am.
Yes. And we often shirk that responsibility because it's easier. And I don't know about because, if that's the why, but for me, often it's because it can't be that easy. I think that's like my mental hang up because when I'm not paying attention to how fucking magical it is, I'm manifesting shit left and right. And it's amazing. And like divine alignment is everywhere. And it's so cool.
It's amazing.
It really is. And then I go, oh, it can't be that easy. And guess what? Suddenly it's not.
Yeah.
It's fucking annoying. Get out of your way, Rachel.
That phrase, whether you believe you can or you can't, you're absolutely right.
Yep.
I love the picture of the little, and again, I love dogs, right? And the picture of the little kitten, right? But it's looking in the reflection in the puddle, and here's this, huge, lion, right?
The lion, yes.
And it's like, that's who I am.
Yeah.
I'm not a baby kitten. What are you talking about?
Unless sometimes you want to be a baby kitten, because there's nothing wrong with baby kittens.
Nothing wrong with baby kittens. I had a couple growing up, but anyway.
Yeah. Okay. So what would be your parting words? Do we want to do one of the decks of cards?
We probably should.
All right. We are doing some epic time here. But okay, you guys, if you're not watching, there are these 4 decks of cards that are in the studio, and I've been walking by them for approximately 3 months. And for whatever reason, today I picked up all 4 decks. So we're going to let Randy pick, and we will finish on one card from one deck. Deal?
Yeah.
Okay. So our decks are What the Heck, Interview Deck, Would You Rather, or Interview Deck Second Edition. Very unsexy title.
I think right now there's a top 2 for me. It's What the Heck or Would You Rather. Those are the top 2 for me.
Okay.
And because there's a Would You Rather game, I'm going to say no. So let's go What the Heck.
What the Heck. All right. Beautiful. We're going to do this.
This is
Do we want to do we'll do this like a tarot card reading. I want you to handle these cards, run your hands over them, and pick one and hand it to me. Okay. All right. All right, Randy.
I didn't look at it.
Oh, man. All right.
Do you have to pick a different one?
Maybe. I don't know. This might suit you. I don't know. If you could talk to one species of animal, what would it be?
Yeah, I mean, if I could talk to one species of animals, I might want a different card after this, but I'll answer real quick. Probably an eagle, a bald eagle to be exact. Eagles don't flock. You only find them one at a time, and to see all the things that they've seen. But
you would want to talk to them about what they see.
What is the most amazing things that they've seen? Yeah. And why they don't flock. I also want to know why they don't flock. But then again, they're leaders, huge talents like we talked about earlier.
Yep. Savages.
Yeah. Savages, that's
They're
right.
fucking killers. That's why.
Yeah,
Killers don't have friends.
That's right. I mentioned to you, I'm like, I've never heard a chicken called a savage. And you're like, here's why. And I'm like, yeah, that is. They're savages.
Yes. They are brutal. And I've been fishing through the cards, and this one already came up. So the fact that it came up again tells me that you have to tell this story out loud.
Oh, boy.
Have you ever been electrocuted?
So, yes, it did come up. And so mildly once, less mildly, more intensely a second time. So I grew up out in the country, right? So it was I grew up around neighbors probably about a mile away, which sounds like a long distance. However, in the country, it's not very far. And they had a horse. So myself and 2 neighbor boys about the same age, we'd always be explorer, right? We're big explorers. That's what you do in the country. And you try to be frontiers people, I guess. So we would a lot of times try to crawl under things, crawl through things. And I learned at a very young age of crawling under an electric fence that the idea of transmission of electricity through your hair actually is a thing.
Your hair is
My
conductive.
hair, as I was crawling under it, hit, not wrapped around. I didn't have that long hair, but it hit the electric and nice little mild zap to the head. So that was one thing. And then a few years later, because you talked about, you're like, I think your ages 9 to 14 were very
Yes.
very rough on you. I'm like, they definitely were. I didn't even get into all the other things. So my mother was finishing part of the basement, right, and part of our basement, and putting up this wood paneling. So I'm like, I'm going to go down there and vacuum up sawdust. So the wood paneling was just installed, the electrical outlets. So for any do-it-yourselfers out there, remember this. The electrical outlets were not yet screwed into the paneling. Thus, they're hanging out from the wall. So to plug it in, right, I grabbed the plug. I grabbed the back of the plug outlet and tried to plug it in. And that's live copper wire. Yeah, it was one of those literally, and I'll have to step back to do this. It was like, and my mother was upstairs, and it sat me back on my
Oh,
my
it
butt.
kicked you.
Oh yeah, it kicked me. And I was just like, what the heck? And I remember the typical thing, right? My mom called downstairs. She typically does this. Ran, what was that? Are you okay? Yep, I'm fine. What happened? Nothing.
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 Yeah.
So
Kid classic.
yeah, that was during that time period of 9 to 14 years that the thing in the basement happened. Yeah. And there's other things, once upon a time, but out in the country, right? You figure you find things to do.
Yep.
City, right? Urban, things find you. Out in the country. So I took apart fireworks back before the exploding ones were allowed in the state of Michigan. So I took them apart and got an ambulance ride out of that one. Back in the day, we had a 3-wheeler.
Oh, God, those things.
One night, got an ambulance ride out of that one. Grew up in the country, so I had a dirt bike. Got an ER visit out of that one. 2 of them, actually, out of that one. So, yeah, that was all in that 9 to 14 years, by the way.
So 2 electrocutions, 2 ambulance rides, 1 ER visit, all between 9 and 14.
And I got to tell you, I was born riding in an ambulance.
Seriously?
Yeah, after I was born, the thing of, he's turning blue. We can't figure out. He's turning purple now. We can't figure it out. So,
oh, really?
So I got it was interesting. I think sometimes the law enforcement in different states I've lived in said, hey, why does he like to, have a right foot that's heavier than his left foot? And the reason being is that moments after I was born, I was put in an ambulance. We're going at rates of 100, 120 miles an hour. So it's like kind of Ricky Bobby, right? I want to go fast.
So this is the story you've created around that.
Yeah, I was born to go fast. So yeah.
I love it. I was over here thinking like everything's a big fucking emergency with you, but I like yours better. It's better.
I like things to be nice, calm, and peaceful and serene these days.
You like things to be, where did it go? Me and my damn notes. Oh, slow and steady wins the race. I feel like that's our big freaking takeaway.
I think it is.
Because we got all these ups and downs and started with the conversation about getting back to who you are. And that's a slow and steady, like lifelong journey, eh?
It is, and the way I can relate that to what we do, it's like, I've been asked different times, hey, well, gosh, you just sold 10 homes that month.
I know.
You've got to be so like, are you just ready to go, whatever it is, scream at the top of the mountaintops or hey, go have a drink? Are you?
Yeah.
My answer is, I don't get super high in the highs and I don't get super low in the lows. It's and that follows a slow and steady. It's just, we're doing our job and yeah, I mean, but yeah, that's slow and steady.
I love this so much, and I need this reminder because I do ride the high highs, and then I trip into the low lows. I've gotten really good at bouncing out of them very quickly, but this I think is for me. So thank you for bringing this to me. I'm going to write it down and put it in front of my computer. That's where I put my little self reminders.
We love it.
Keep myself on track. So with that, I guess. Thank you for coming. I appreciate your candor and your willingness to come and share your story. I'm like so full of gratitude, Randy. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, I love this. This was great. Thank you.
Thanks.
The info given is current as of this recording, but remember, the market changes and real estate is hyper local.